What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to JellyGoonTv. Welcome back to all my beautiful viewers and subscribers, of course. Today we have another video. We are going to react to some culture from China. We are going to react to why the dragon is central in Chinese culture. I always wondered why they always have this thing with dragons, like the temples, everything like that. It's very much special to the Chinese government and to the Chinese people, to the Chinese culture. And I mean, Chinese culture is so old that it's unbelievable, man. They have so much history in the world, from the samurai to the Shogun, whatever they called, you know what I mean? So they had a lot of empire and they had a lot of span. So without further ado, we're going to get into this video and see what it's all about. So without further ado, hit the like button down below. Please do comment what you think about this. China, the only ones who have dragons? Let's see. Let's get it.
Magnificent, marvelous, legendary. Undulating as gracefully through the vast sky above as the watery depths below, the Chinese dragon is one of the world's most globally recognized monsters.
Damn.
Their behavior could be described as benevolent, but their appearance can still inspire fear and awe. These dragons, or long, as they're called in Chinese mythology, have been a crucial component of religion, culture, mythology, and folklore in China for thousands of years. The dragon is one of the 4 benevolent animals in Chinese mythology and one of the 12 members of the Chinese zodiac.
So the zodiac is basically the Chinese calendar, something like that. I don't know, but the zodiac is also what we have in Europe, of course. We have the tiger, we have the twins, we have all that kind of stuff, which is very beautiful. But China is very much their own people. They have their own calendar, they have their own New Year, they have their own Christmas, I guess. They're not really, Christians, so I don't think they hold Christmas. But still, it's amazing that China is a culture in itself and it had survived for so many years. It's thriving and all these things. It's just beautiful, so beautiful. And there's so much history in China. It is very, very bad that they are like they are now, because I really wanted to visit China and just see the culture, because bro, we talking about millions of years of culture. Just like Jerusalem, just like all these places, you know what I mean? They have a rich culture in it. It's amazing. So yeah, that's awesome.
And those are only small parts of their influence. Dragons played a major role in China's history. They were both creators and destroyers and controlled the elements. So what was it about the Chinese dragon that made it such a central figure in Chinese culture? I'm Dr. Emily Zarka, and this is Monstrum. The dragon was born in China a long time ago and has appeared throughout ancient and modern history. A jade dragon discovered from Hongshan culture dates to around 6,000 years ago.
That's crazy. That's what I'm talking about right now, man.
And dragon heads appear on oracle bones from 1300 BC.
You see what I'm saying? Like, these dragons must have been here. I don't know.
More recently, Disney Shang-Chi gave us a beautiful and mythologically accurate representation of the creature. That's a pretty solid track record.
I mean, the dragon is flying in midair, man. That's just, yeah, something.
Wang Fu, a Chinese historian and philosopher in the Eastern Han Dynasty, wrote that the dragon's unique appearance is actually a composite of many different animal features, and the list is long. Their heads are the same shape as a camel, their ears are like a bull, and they regard us with eyes similar to a hare, or a murderous demon, depending on the source. Atop their majestic...
I mean, if a dragon came towards me, man, nah, I wouldn't see that. I would see a demon. You understand me? Because the dragon is going to eat you up, man. He's going to kill you 100%. But I also think that a dragon is kind of a thing for the Chinese people, that they're going to survive no matter what. And, they bring the elements in their country. And, I think it's more symbolic, than it is real. You know what I mean? I think it's like a philosophy that life is like a dragon or something like that. Like, I don't know, maybe.
Heads grow the antlers of a stag. They have the writhing body of a snake and the well-armored belly of a clam. They have the feet of a tiger and the enormous talons of an eagle. Finally, covering their whole body are the protective scales of a carp. Some scholars believe that these various attributes evolved out of the influence of the disparate tribes that eventually unified into the China we know today.
Really?
Others see them as emblematic of desirable human characteristics.
So I know there's a bunch of Chinese who does not like each other. You should not call them the same. So there's still some tribally going on, which is kind of curious, but it's nothing to do with the dragon, but still.
Or as a representative amalgamation of ancient spiritual totems. Some traditions claim that the Chinese dragons conceal a large pearl in their throat or chin. The pearl, often depicted in art as a glowing white disc in a dragon's claw or mouth, may represent the sun, the moon, or the earth. Or maybe it's just a giant jewel. Regardless, the dragon's ability to hold the precious orb represents immense power. Even the number of scales on the Chinese dragon's body carries important significance.
That dragon is definitely not paid for, you know what I mean? That dragon is made in Windows XP, I'm just saying, bro.
The number is said to be 117, which in traditional Chinese philosophy and religion represents a perfect balance of yin, negative essence, and yang, positive essence. Because of this natural duality, while usually compassionate, the dragon can be malicious as well. Or even just really invested in politics. In the 17th century, scholar Se Jiaozhe's text, The Five Assorted Offerings, tells the story of his own encounter with dragons. According to Se, while traveling by sea at 10 years old with his uncle on a diplomatic mission, they were suddenly plagued by wind, rain, hail, thunder, and lightning. 3 dragons surrounded them. At first, everyone was terrified of the extraordinary creatures.
Terrifying? 3 dragons surrounding you on a boat? Bro, that's not terrifying. That's a nightmare. You know what I mean?
But an elder remarked that they must be there to hear the emperor's message. They interact with gods and immortals in the heavens. Even without wings, they can fly through the air. They are shapeshifters, capable of taking on any size or shape, including human form. They can turn invisible at will, are highly intelligent, and in some stories, they can even speak. The deep meanings attributed to Chinese dragons are ancient.
So a dragon in China is basically all the superpowers you want as a human. Basically.
So much so that their exact origins are largely lost to the past. The evidence that we do have, however, suggests dragons were a universal facet in all early cultures in China, even though traditions and spiritual significance differed. In the Guideways Through Mountains and Seas, an encyclopedic tome and Chinese bestiary penned between the 4th and 1st century BCE, the dragon appeared as a nature deity known as the god of thunder, who uses his own belly to drum up echoing booms. There were even so-called dragon cults, religious groups that worshiped dragons and gave offerings to appease them. As aquatic, semi-divine beings, dragons control rainstorms, hail, wind, tornadoes, floods, and all bodies of water. Dragons helped explain the rain cycle during the Song dynasties, and were thus also said to bring thunder and lightning.
So they're basically gods in dragon form. That's basically what we're doing now. Okay, I get it. But it's kind of interesting to see because they didn't really have a god like that. They mostly, worshipped dragons as a method for, wind, water, thunder, all these kind of, earthly things that happens. I think it's very interesting to see that other people, they have Jesus, Allah, all these different things, Buddha, myself, and here is China. They basically worshipping dragons, which is amazing, man. It's freaking awesome.
This was an important development because if humans could summon dragons, then they had a semblance of control over rain as well. During this same period, paintings of dragons dramatically increased. In ancient Chinese cosmology, there are 4 kinds of dragons. The celestial dragon, dragon of hidden treasure, the underground or underworld dragon, and spiritual dragon, who control rain and winds. But in other traditions, the taxonomy expands to 9, an auspicious number in Chinese numerology. And interestingly, the same number of animals the dragon borrows its features from. Joining the classification system are the winged dragon, the horned dragon, the coiling dragon, the yellow dragon, and the dragon king. The dragon king concept was only introduced after the arrival of Buddhism in China. When Buddhism came to the area, dragons were adopted as a symbol of enlightenment as well as royalty.
But Buddhism is basically because they took the dragons in. I could imagine that it's because of, accepting the culture and coming in peace and get something from China into Buddhism. Because Buddhism is not really, believe me, do what I have to say, all these kind of things. It's something that you do freely, just like the dragon. So yeah, I guess, they just adopted that just to get the Buddhism in. It's really beautiful though to accept the culture and just put it in your own. It's really amazing. I love it so much. But yeah, there's different Buddhists all over the world, but it's still a beautiful religion. 100%.
Buddhism was then imported from China to Japan around the 7th century, and dragons came along with it. Dragons were later incorporated into Shintoism as well. The Shinto god Susanoo was believed to have killed an 8-headed dragon, which certainly seems like a monster slayer story to me.
He's a tough guy.
In Chinese mythology, when one of the 4 poles that held up the sky collapsed, one of the disastrous consequences was great flooding brought on by the black dragon, a malevolent creature who could only be stopped by the mother god
what was that?
Nuwa. But other dragons are not so monstrous. After all, one of those world-building pillars was constructed by the green dragon, one of the deities of creation. In yet another creation story from the Bai peoples, when the world was
What
created,
is
a
that?
great golden dragon lay in slumber under the sea.
That ain't no golden dragon right there, man. That's Windows XP graphics, man.
When one of two warring suns dropped into the ocean, the sea began to boil. Awoken and enraged by this, the golden dragon swallowed the sun. It
Damn.
began to burn him, eventually bursting from his chest and becoming clouds, trees, flowers, grass, and animals of all kinds. So to sum it up,
Damn.
not all Chinese dragons are the same. They serve different purposes. Some are celestial, others belong to the river, some protect treasure, act as deities, or serve as a connection to the spiritual. Oh, and they can have human offspring, or more specifically, emperors. This is one reason why Chinese dragons are intimately linked to imperial history.
Of course, they can have a boss.
During the Han Dynasty to Qin Dynasty period, the great and powerful dragon became associated with emperors as a way to show the rulers had been divinely chosen.
Oh.
The first Han emperor, known as the Yellow Emperor, was
What? It's kind of racist, ain't it?
said to be the offspring of a human mother and a divine dragon. This supposed heritage trickled down to all elements of the emperor's authority, from their robes to their beds. Yellow or golden dragons were particularly revered by imperial powers, and the five-clawed dragon became an official imperial symbol in the 14th century.
So a lot in Asia, you know, the colors of royalty and all this stuff is basically, you know, yellow. Yellow is always something that shows up in Asian culture when you talk about the royals or anything like that. I know they have it in Thailand too. Like there's a lot of yellow because yellow is basically royal, which is a beautiful color too. I'm not saying that it's 100% beautiful, but it's kind of funny to see that these bosses, they took, you know, the imperials took the dragons to themselves and basically just wore them as a way of showing power, you know?
Their claws represent the emperor's power over the five elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Eventually, everyone else was banned from wearing any clothing that pictured a five-clawed dragon. That's not to say that all stories of dragons were based on mythology, animism, or legend. Ancient animals likely played a role as well. Yep, we're talking dragons and fossils. As early as China's Jin Dynasty, which lasted from 265 to 317 CE, we find a text mentioning the discovery of what were believed to be dragon bones in what's now Sichuan province. A lot of the sediment in this area dates back to the Middle and Late Jurassic period, and the area is full of fossils.
Damn.
Remains of dinosaurs like the predatory theropods were found there, as well as a massive sauropod with an extremely long neck that could grow up to 25 meters long. Dragons inhabit exotic spaces, mysterious watery depths, expansive skies, and heavenly realms. Their powers are frightening but inspirational, and they're beautiful in their strength and otherworldliness.
They are.
Luck, power, wisdom, bravery, strength. Chinese dragons inspired everything from religious practices to the national emblem, countless astounding artworks and architectural marvels to the
It's
globally
beautiful.
famous dragon dance. The creature is inseparable from the history of the Chinese people. To embrace the Chinese dragon is to celebrate Chinese culture.
Nice.
Thanks for watching. Let me tell you a little bit about Subcultured.
That is amazing right there. I love China already, man. That's amazing right there. The culture aspect of the dragon is very amazing and very interesting. They did a lot of things with this dragon, and you can just see that Chinese people really enjoy their celebration of all these things and living a long life and, you know, just having family and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of funny to see because in the West, we're kind of depressed right now, you know what I mean? But it's so beautiful to see the dragon that it has so much, you know, it's so much thought through than other religions, you know what I mean? Like, it's just basically about the environment that you live in and that you have to not worship. Of course, maybe somebody kills somebody and worship them to the dragon, but I'm just saying, like, 90% of people don't do that stuff. They come with flowers, they come with fruit, they come with a lot of food, you know, all this kind of stuff just to celebrate that thing. And I think the most beautiful thing about culture is that Chinese New Year, for example, is very beautiful to celebrate. I had such a freaking blast. It was amazing. So yeah. Anyway, guys and girls, respect culture is very beautiful to learn about. So yeah. Anyway, guys and girls, I love you so much. And I'm going to see you until the next video, of course. Peace.